I'm John Tree and I'm a product and furniture designer. So we're on our way to Sainsbury's to pick up James. My parents were hippies and they decided to kind of live off the land. They bought a small holding, which was in the middle of Wales, a house with a bit of a field at the back of it. So we had to milk a cow, we had to grow vegetables. My mother had to bake bread, but in a kitchen my dad hadn't built because he was trying to do work to make money doing things for other people. So my mother and father both studied architecture. And then, so my dad decided to become a carpenter and started making things, and we built a workshop to make things out of wood. I did, on one of my birthdays, get a small workbench of my own with a little vise and everything. So that definitely, I think, was an influence. Seeing my father work with wood and me working with wood, I get an understanding of wood, and so it's a nice material to work with. So we're going to go back to my place, which is my home and my studio in Walthamstow. My wife is a photographer, so Nicola and I both live and work in the same place. Just launched a table with Muto, and I have a few chairs in the pipeline. The brief from Hay was for a clip-on light. So with Apex, it was really about the shade that would pivot and allow you to direct the light in different directions. It's that kind of economy of using something for as many things as possible. So this stem is, the pivots for the light, it's the support for the light, and it's the route for the cable to come down. It's got a little reference to the banker's light. There's kind of that classic desk light that you can tip forward and tip backwards. A consistent family of details that are applied across it. So this is the most sort of banker's light type one that's, you can have a very nice localized light, but also you can kick up and throw a nice wash on the wall as well. That's inspired by a paint roller. Enjoy a trip to a factory. In our practice, you have to design something and give a drawing to somebody who then makes it. So you have to really understand what they can and can't do to do a good job. When we did the chair with Resident, the Giro chair, I had a couple of trips to the plywood factory. They're really happy and they get a little bit invested in the design because they've had an input to it. So the seat's been shaped ergonomically. Plywood can also be flexible, so the back here is designed to be flexible. And we are able to tune that flexibility through the shape. You can also make plywood where you take a lump of wood and slice it, and then put all the wood back in the same order it was in, but in a mold. So this looks like a solid piece of oak, but it's actually, again, another type of plywood. So we used to live in Brick Lane, and we had bought a kind of an office space and made it into a house then, and done a bit of DIY, so we felt confident doing a bit of work. And we looked around Walthamstow quite a lot because it's unique here having a mixture of commercial spaces in residential areas. So we took the roof off, took the slab out, and then we sort of built inside using the existing walls as the structure. The idea was to let as much daylight in as possible because the walls are tall, so we want to balance privacy with daylight as well. This specific plywood is Douglas fir plywood, which is the original plywood used for casting concrete, and it's rotary cut, so they put the log in the machine. As the log spins, the blade slices off a continuous length of veneer. If you buy a pallet of plywood and then unstack it, you can reassemble this kind of continuous veneer. So this is the Quattro chair designed for Very Good and Proper, whose factory we're in right now that is in my neighbourhood in Walthamstow. Because it's completely upholstered, it means that customers can order any sort of fabric that they want. So it's a little bit of a blank canvas. There's a long process working very closely with Very Good and Proper and their technical team to get this to all work. I've worked with VG&P a lot. They did the HD chair This one, so we tried again to use plywood for all the different elements in it. This super comfy shell that we developed has kind of worked across a whole family of different seating solutions. Again, these are probably quite old prototypes. Pink. Got this red as well in there. Super graphic. Well, I think when something's economic or it's efficient, like some sort of natural beauty can emerge, I feel, if it's designed to be unsuperfluous and just really clean. So rather than applying stuff, it's a kind of reductive process of taking things away and saying, you know, can this leg also hold the back on? It's quite easy to keep adding stuff to solve problems. It's very hard to remove things and solve problems. The thickness of this allowed the legs to thin down and go into the backrest. Quite a visual taper going on, which led to its name of being skinny. Maybe because it's just all one color, it shows my inability to really deal with color. It's just, okay, it's all blue. Having to do something out of multiple shades of a color would probably be hard for me. So having either, you know, ideally a full-size sample or a small 3D print kicking around for a long time is super, super important to my process. These are all 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6, 1 to 6. So I'm stuck now at 1 to 6. There was a moment in London when every second-hand shop had these. It was the Bloomberg offices shut down, and there was green Eames chairs in every second-hand shop for like 20 quid each. Yeah, there's quite a few, but like you often go to an architect's house and there's a hop-sat green Eames chair they got off Holloway Road for 30 quid. That's from Bloomberg. So this bike was originally lent by Ride Cake to Jasper Morrison's office where I was working. I just love it. The number one comment I get is, did you make that yourself? So it's clearly got this look of being homemade, which is great. I like it because of that. It's function driven really, which is nice. When, you know, as people, when we encounter objects, like it's a chair or a pair of glasses or a telephone, you only know it's a chair because you've got in your head a whole kind of catalogue of things that were called chairs, so you can use them to identify it. So you very much have to work within the constraints of a typology and understand that typology. Through that, find a freshness. And like new materials often can bring that freshness to a project. And in decades when there's been a lot of material development like plastics in the 60s, you have some very radical, new and different pieces because technology was changing. But they still had to very much refer to the pool of chairs that we're all familiar with. Like when the first car was done, it was basically a horse and cart with no horse because people would otherwise not comprehend what it is. So you have to, it's a very delicate balance, and that's, I think it's nice to explore that. So this was designed for Tala, and Tala make a really nice range of light bulbs. Well, I wanted to kind of celebrate this really simple geometric bulb by making a fitting that protected it, but didn't kind of trying to hide away the bulb. So extrusion is like when you make pasta, you've got a hole and you push the aluminium out of the hole like toothpaste and you have the shape. So we made endless lengths of this shape and then chopped it and chopped it and chopped it and then cut away on the inside. So it's actually super strong, super durable. Because it's a Tala bulb, they've got this lovely dim to warm technology. So as the dimmer comes on and you put more power through it, it goes from a warm colour to a brighter, lighter colour. And I've led on to this chair here for a huge aluminium manufacturing company called Hydro. And they've got a new aluminium called R100. And they've built a whole supply chain to source, gather and remelt aluminium to make new stuff with this. So the whole of the structure is from one piece of aluminium that's been extruded, machined and then bent. And then the seat in the back simply clip in. So it is all genuinely all aluminium, no fixings, one piece, one material. What would be nice is if my products were remembered. So if someone buys in a second-hand shop or something and they like it just without, they just are drawn to it in a way, that would be a nice thing. So this is the new light that was launched in Copenhagen, and it's made from spun aluminium, just left in its natural state, which is anodized, which is a really nice silver feel to it. kind of keep a project off screens a little bit, and it's a little bit like sculpting, like with a table like this is the table, an early model of the Ernest table for Muto. I'm working at the moment on some handsets for Motorola, and this was a very hands-on process at the start where kind of sculpting different things and seeing how they feel in the hand. It's taken a long time to get the perfect yes and no green and red, but I think we're nearly there.
Did you buy some Smarties? Is that how you found out?
Yep, we're nearly. M&M's.
M&M's. There you are.